The National Government Constituency Development Fund (NGCDF) in Kiminini, under the patronage of Area Member of Parliament Dr. Chris Wamalwa, has overseen incredible transformation in the region.
First, when we came to the office, there was a lot of disorganization. There were a lot of audit queries as far as CDF is concerned. First, we had to do thorough audit of the projects that were there before we started.
The constituency, which was initially part of Saboti constituency, had suffered marginalization in terms of development, which hindered social economic development.
And when I looked at the community constituency, it was largely behind when it comes to matters of education. And you know, as per the CDF Act, the projects that you're supposed to focus on are heavily education. Education takes about almost 70%, 70 to 80% in terms of the budget. So we did our rounds. We had to do public participation. We had to have a workshop with the stakeholders. And we had to diagnose the real problems in the education sector. And we realized that infrastructure was the critical challenging issue. And we also had issues of shortage of land as far as schools are concerned. We identified the projects as per wards.
As per his policy of equitable allocation of resources, each project was replicated across the 6 wards.
Hospital, Sirende, Waitaluk, Kiminini na Viswa na Sikhendu. Na hakuna mradi yote ambayo tumeweza kufanya katika Sikhendu tukakosa kufanya katika hospital ward. Ile tunafanya Sikhendu ward, tunafanya Waitaluk, tunafanya na Viswa. If it means buying school passes, we've done it. Mpaka wa leo, tukifika leo hivi, tumenunua school pass 18.
The school began in 1967. And surely since that time up to 2015, we had no dining hall. Our students, earlier on when it was a big mixed school, secondary school, our boys were using the trees as the dining hall. Until 2015 is when the CDF Community Constituency, under the patronship of the area MP Dr. Chris Wamalwa, came here, visited our school, and therefore they started constructing this dining hall.
St. Teresa's Girls has been really assisted with Kiminini and GCDF with the building of classrooms, the dormitory, which has really assisted with the transition, with the 100% transition. The CDF also has assisted the school with the bus, and this bus has really been of great help to the school.
This dining hall has been used as a church. During Sundays, we use it during Mass. We have some meetings in school which they are carried out inside here. I really appreciate the CDF because it was a bit of a challenge, especially concerning the Corona holidays. You know, it was like distance, you're supposed to keep some distance. So like when it came, we had now, like we are safe, you know, you feel safe. Even if the parent or someone feels my child is safe, the child is comfortable.
They used to sleep in some classes, but when the CDF came in, they assisted us. They built for us dormitory. Now it helped the Form 1s and the whole of the school.
They have a very good dormitory. Watoto personally nilienda huko wakati wakijoin Form 1. So nikaona ni mahali pazuri, conducive place.
And of course, as we started, of course we couldn't do every school. We had to go into phases. And of course we were doing open tendering. And I focus heavily on education. Majority of the people in Kiminini, they are very poor. You find there are children who have done very well, but accessing higher education, even secondary school, is a problem.
AIC Naisambu Girls School, which is a brainchild of the National Government CDF Kitty Kiminini, was established in 2013 with the setting up of a tuition block to address the rising need for girl child education within Kibomet sub-location.
And we started at the primary school. We were hosted for a short while, and in 2015 we were funded by the CDF to start 2 classrooms, and therefore at the beginning of 2016, the girls were able to move to their own ground where the CDF had given us the 2 classrooms. The population of the girls continued increasing, and in 2018 and 2019 financial year, we were given another funding for an administration block.
We've improved every primary school or secondary school that is within the constituency. And we've started other new schools. As we speak right now, community primary schools are almost 100. When it comes to secondary school, we've increased more secondary schools. Secondary schools, they are running almost 80. So you can see it's a very big constituency.
The CDF Kitty further set up an automatic standby generator to address the perennial power outages at the school that posed a security threat to students during night time, in addition to hampering their studies, which had a negative impact on their performance.
From the time our CDF of Kiminini gave us the generator, at least it has really enhanced learning in this school, and that's why we got better results this time. From the time the generator was launched in the year 2020, and from that time, at least we have seen some improvement.
Because I remember sometimes when we had the lowest performance, it is because for almost a week we had no electricity in the school. It has changed completely the image of the school in terms of security.
At the neighboring French school Chalicha, the NGCDF Kitty set up an 8-class story tuition block to address an initial shortage that saw learners study under trees.
And it was a real problem because the population of the catchment of this place is big, the population is big, the community is large, so it was a challenge. But when CDF came in, it has really assisted, and this has really greatly helped the society. Because you can basically see that the school is, almost all the structures in the school are funded by CDF.
Mheshimiwa wetu Chris ametuanzishia pahali penye palikuwa patoko, lakini sasa hivi ukikuja Chalicha secondary tuko na makorofa, hata wanafunzi walikuwa wachawahi kuona korofa lakini wameona. Na tena kukuja kwa upande wa ukawachi wa CDF, Mheshimiwa amejaribu kuangalia watu yake wale wa chini, wa kuangalia watu kutoka jamii maskini na wale hawajiwezi, na tumesema heko Mheshimiwa na uendelee hivyo hivyo.
And also it has provided bursaries for students, for those students who are unable to pay for their fees.
Hata tunapotarajia wanafunzi wageni katika hii shule watakuwa na nafasi na mahali pa kusomea, hawatakuwa wakisomea nje.
When fire struck a dormitory at St. Bridget's Girls' School Community last year, affected students faced a trough since they had to seek for refuge in one of the dining halls, while others sought space in nearby dormitories.
Bridget, we are standing with our arms stretched to the sky. Bridget, lead them follow. Bridget, let them know. Bridget, close over us, let thy kingdom come.
The National Government CDF Committee hurriedly came in with a check to have the dormitory repaired.
Tulipata changamoto nyingi, na mojawapo ya changamoto hizo ilikuwa ni msongamano wa wanafunzi katika bweni ambazo zilikuwa sawa. Ningependa kushukuru sana hazina hii ya CDF katika eneo la Kiminini kwa kutupatia check. Bweni ambalo lilikuwa limepata hilo tatizo liliweza kurekebishwa, paa iliweza kujengwa upya.
At St. Anthony Boys Kitale, the fund established a dormitory to address a growth in the population owing to its excellence in academics and sporting activities. The committee also set up a twin laboratory to aid students in practical lessons for science subjects, which had a positive impact in the school's KCSE performance.
And from the time we took over, Kiminini was very much underdeveloped. And we have been buying land
then also do infrastructure. We have bought buses in all the wards. We have also done projects dealing with the security.
We've tried to put about 4-story buildings in every ward. So when you multiply, you'll get around 24-story buildings. We've also put story buildings for the officers for purposes of accommodation. We've also put up offices for the chiefs, for provincial administration. We've also put up offices for the sub-chiefs to be able to help on matters of security. When security is doing well, everything will be okay.
Kujengwa kwa hii police station hapa kumekuwa kwa msaada sana, kwa sababu hapa awali haungeweza kufuga ama kufanya biashara.
We can't say we've done 100% because of the limitation of the funds that are there. Of course, the funds will never be enough, but we try to prioritize the key priority areas. To change this constituency, I had to prioritize matters of education. That the most powerful weapon to change the world is through education.
This school was started in the year 2000 as a day school. It was under the community who was the sponsors. Then when the CDF started, we have seen good things coming. In fact, at the moment, we have a population of around 350 students. And with this population, we saw it good to start a boarding section. Good to the CDF, which came in and it assisted us put up, first of all, a makeshift dormitory. Then later, it put up a dormitory which could accommodate 200 students.
Mzazi wa kutoka Nyabomo Secondary School. CDF imekuwa msaada kwetu sana.
Kuna wakati nilipeleka vijana kutoka kila ward, walikuwa naenda vijana wa group 5 na kila group walikuwa napewa 1,100. Hiyo ni kutoka kwa CDF ambayo ilisaidia vijana kufanya miradi tofauti.
In matters legislation, Dr. Chris Wamalwa stands out among many with his remarkable track record in coming up with legislations cutting across the sectors of education, labor rights, and agriculture, among others.
Why was this amendment introduced in the first place? And this amendment initially was introduced, Mr. Speaker. I've been rated one of the best legislators in this country, and through that, I was awarded a medal by His Excellency the President, the CBS, the Chief of the Burning Spear. That's not a mean achievement. And there are many members of Parliament who've been there for 4 or 5 terms. They've never gotten it. But I was there within the very first term. I got it. And I thank God for that. It's because of my legislation. And there are many bills I brought on the floor of the House. For instance, when you talk about the Basic Education Act, I brought an amendment on that. When it comes to national government, their function, of course, primary schools, secondary schools, they can also go into partnership with the private sector, whoever wants to invest in it, so that they can be able to tap that particular segment or that particular session which has been tapped, maybe because of the shortage of resources that maybe we could not be able to have gone through. There's also one for the ranking of schools. I brought back actually the ranking of schools. Another bill that I brought on the floor of the House that passed, which I'm proud of, is about the fertilizer. The Fertilizer and Foodstuff Act is actually an act now, whereby the government is supposed to come up with a fertilizer board, which is going to be responsible for matters pertaining fertilizer.
Dr. Wamalwa, who is eyeing the Trans Nzoia governor seat, is banking on his rich 10-year experience as an MP and his passion for development to spur development in the region if he is elected on 9th August.
Many people have seen what I've done in Kiminini. In fact, many people always joke that I wish there was this aspect of transferring one MP to another area, because they've seen the development. And now they want to extrapolate to the county. When you look at Schedule 4 of the Constitution, you find healthcare, matters to do with health, that are devolved. We must expedite the process of finalizing this hospital so that there's that accessibility to healthcare. And that is something I'm yearning to do. Most of the roads are devolved. And the road network is in a pathetic situation here in Trans Nzoia. So once I take over, I also want to emphasize on the issue of infrastructure to ensure that roads have been done, there will be that easy accessibility. So as a governor, I also want to start initiate a governor's scholarship program. I've seen it doing in other counties, so that the children who have done very well, who have gone to national schools, coming from poor families, the governor's bursary program or scholarship program should be able to pay school fees for them from secondary school up to university.
Dr. Wamalwa also promised to set up a special kitty for small and medium enterprises to help them boost their businesses instead of seeking expensive loans.
I want to establish a fertilizer fund program. We can go into partnership with the private sector or the national government, and this must be passed through the county assembly, so that when it comes to appropriation, some specific amount of money called fertilizer fund has been set aside, that it will be able to help.
The legislator also promised to complete all incomplete projects under the current administration, saying he would build on the foundation put in place by Governor Khaemba in the last 2 terms.
I want to have a value addition program. We can partner with the private sector so they can be able to come to Trans Nzoia County. We set up plants that can be able to process the milk, for instance, and we can sell that milk like KCC or like Brookside. And this will add value to the farmer. He'll be smiling all the way to the bank, and it will provide employment to our many children who are unemployed. The same case when it comes to maize. We bring up a law that any maize that will go outside Trans Nzoia County, it will attract extra levy, so that we partner with the milling plants to come and set up the plants here, so that we can be able to process our own maize, so that we are going to sell that maize in not as maize, but as maize flour. Kitale maize flour or Trans Nzoia maize flour, after we've done value addition. My government, in partnership with the national government, to help farmers to be able to get the title deeds. These title deeds will help them in terms of accessing credit, because it's going to be used as collateral. So there are many programs that we've tried to put in place, that God willing, if I become the governor, we'll be able to make Trans Nzoia great again.